In today's episode, we have two students, one former and one current student. We will be touching topics like how is the living in Prague, how is the studying in med school, and what do they take home from this experience in Prague. I would like to welcome our today's guests, Mirai, a fifth-year student in our faculty, and already graduated Dr. Mást here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for taking your time. I would like to this episode talk about from our perspective, our student perspective. And I think it would be nice to talk firstly, why did you choose our faculty? What was the reason to choose Prague? Let's start with the lady.
Okay. Thank you for having us, first of all. And why did I choose medicine and why did I choose Prague? I chose engineering first. I did 1 year of engineering in Turkey, and then I realized it's not for me. But inside me, I always wanted some kind of medical field. So I was like, maybe medicine is the right choice after I was not very happy with 1 year with engineering. So after I decided to go to medicine, I decided to look outside of Turkey because studying there medicine is not very ideal. For various reasons. So I was looking and then I saw a second faculty. I came, took the exam, and when I was here for the exam, the entrance exam, it was actually the first time I was in Prague. So I had two questions in mind. First, like, oh, am I gonna get in? And the second one being, can I live here actually? Is like somewhere right for me to like have at least 6 to 7 years live here? And after I got in, I spent like few days just get the feeling of the city, and I kind of fell in love with the city back then.
So you would say that you just Googled where to go outside of Turkey and our faculty popped as a first, or was there some kind of that you heard from someone that this is a possibility? Or
I didn't really hear it from anyone, but my dad did some business in Czech Republic, in Brno. So I was like, maybe first, like in Europe, I looked at Germany, but they didn't have English options. So then I was like Czech Republic, and I saw first, second, and third pack. But I only took the entrance exam of this faculty.
Okay. So what was the reason actually? I'm curious why.
Just second faculty, because that was a mistake actually, because they told me,
Cut out.
No, not that mistake. Like they told me I was not supposed to take 3 of them, but that they were at the same day, which was not the case. I learned that when after I came here. So I only took the second one and I got in. So after that, I learned that I could have taken the other ones, but I didn't really bother.
Okay. And what made you choose our faculty?
I had somewhat of a similar story. I grew up in Dubai, and studying medicine there isn't really my best option. So I had to go somewhere else. And I wanted somewhere in English, but the US and the UK are way too expensive. So it ended up being in Europe. And towards the end, I was between here and Debrecen in Hungary. And I got the acceptance from both. But I've never been to Debrecen. Before that, I've never been to Debrecen. I've never been to Prague, but I don't know, something called out to me from Prague. I'd like to think I made the right decision coming here.
After now graduating,
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a good choice.
It was a good choice.
So you did the exam here, or you did the exam somehow remotely?
So when I applied through SAT 2s. I didn't have to do the entrance exam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why Prague as the city? You kind of touched on it, but what made you excited about the city? What makes it so exciting for you?
After coming here or before? Like before, I really liked Europe in general. I've been to other places in Europe. But with Prague, I think it was the fact that it has first of all, Prague has a lot of international people. It has great like cafes, great streets, great history. So when I was like here with my family, we took like trips on the river and everything. I don't know, it felt like very livable and enjoyable city to me. So that's what called out to me. I was a bit worried about the language at first, which we will maybe touch later.
Yeah, we will touch that later.
Yeah, but it still felt like a very livable, enjoyable city to me after the first time I've been here.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I came to Prague is on the first day of school over here. So I didn't see it from before. But I do love Prague. I love the city. The city has a certain soul. It has this character to it that I haven't seen anywhere else in any other European city or any other city for that fact.
I would say like Prague lives. That's
lives.
something that speaks to me, that you're never gonna have a lazy day if you really decide that you want to go out. There's numerous restaurants and cafes to go to, and there's always gonna be something that you haven't been to. And the culture and everything. And I would say, I think there has been a lot of progress in the late years. Also with like accepting foreigners to I would say it has gotten like better. Progressively better. So that's also something that's I think should be mentioned, because it's I think there's a bit of a stigma and like this ideal that that Czech people are not very approachable, which of course you're gonna find those people as well, but I think it has gotten a bit more
I feel
relaxed.
this is very true with the younger generation, and especially in Prague. I can't speak for the rural areas outside. I haven't been to many places in the Czech Republic, but specifically in Prague, most of the younger generation is very open-minded, very welcoming. Some of the older generation, but that's to be expected. That's the same everywhere. All over the world, they're a bit more. They grew up in a different way. They had different ideas. They had different.
What do you like to do in Prague for your free time when you have it? There's not much, but when you have it, what do you like to do?
I think it's important to have free, do something outside of medical school, because if you just get stuck in this cycle of study and come to school, go home, it gets quite intense. So I really like meeting my friends outside. We sometimes go to parties, obviously, restaurants. I also like going to museums and some art galleries. There's so much to see in Prague. What else?
I would also mention maybe sports here, the gyms, the opportunities to do also activities related to sports.
I feel like Czech people are very outdoorsy. So whenever you want to do something outside of your house, hiking, anything, running, these stuff, there's always groups you can join in Facebook and everything. I think it's very good.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's always something to do in Prague, whatever you want. I mean, the coffee scene here is amazing. Restaurants, not so much, but they're improving overall. Bars, nightclubs, everything is open, everything is available, relatively affordable.
And there's always some club open. If you want to go on Monday evening at night somewhere, there's always a party to go to if you decide to.
Definitely.
So I think that's also something that's quite rare. Not
all kinds of sports as well, bouldering, gym, cycling, whatever it is, it's found in Prague.
Yeah. What would you feel like was very surprising to you in Czech culture? What was the first, oh my God, I wasn't expecting this?
I again gonna mention the language. I knew it was gonna be not easy, but for me, back when I came, it was a bit worse. That in the grocery stores and small shops, I really struggled with they didn't know English so well, and also people when you need something to be fixed, like handymans and these worker people, they don't speak English so well. So I was struggling a lot with that. Other than that, I don't know.
I mean, I have to agree, the language, but that's everywhere. But especially when I came here 7 years ago, not many people spoke English. Now it's a bit better. But I also have to say the one thing that was very different to me is the Easter traditions here. That was very special. I was like, okay, this is nice. It's different. The Easter traditions here are different.
I would say traditions in general.
Traditions, yeah.
I would also like to mention in the Christmas, we have the Christmas markets, which is something that I think everyone knows around the world. And that's the Christmas time and everything is super special here. So I think that's also something that tourists come for. And we have the privilege to be having as our home city to go to whenever we want to.
Yeah, I actually don't celebrate Christmas. And my first Christmas when I was here, I was really pleasantly surprised. It was really nice, everywhere with lights and the markets. It was really cozy.
So let's keep talking about the Czech language, because that's something that you're gonna, in the first 3 years, you have to learn, not only because of the daily life, but also with the patients, you have to be able to talk to them, right? So what, was it a hard language? I think that came kind of earlier. So first of all, is it a hard language, but is it also learnable? Would you say that you still felt like it's doable?
I would answer it's really doable if you have the right teacher and you put the effort in. you can definitely learn a lot, but in the beginning it was really hard for me because it's a Slavic language. It's my mother language is Turkish, so it has nothing in common, almost nothing. It's not very close to English, and I really struggled in the beginning. But it comes to the point where like you have to put a bit extra effort. You have to try to speak when you go to the shops, and when there's someone who is fluent in Czech, you try with them, and somehow when you start speaking to the patients, and you get a bit encouraged to learn more, because you want to understand your patients, you want to learn in medicine and do the proper examination and everything. And in order to do that, we have to know Czech.
I think what is quite nice about Czech people is that they don't really judge you if you try. That's something that's also, I would say, in the world, in other countries, you get the, you said that wrong. And here I have met few people that do that, but it's not so common. People are more like, "Oh, you trying? Okay, let's make this work. Let's make this work."
No, definitely, it's a difficult language, but it's definitely possible to learn it as well. Just like with anything, you just need to put the effort in. But I understand it's also difficult because we have so much school pressure and a lot of things to study for school that most people don't prioritize or don't give enough attention to the Czech language as much as they should.
Yeah.
But there's also the bit of an issue that we mainly focus on medical Czech, which is because we need it in the hospital and it's quite important. But after a while, you kind of forget the normal conversational Czech. So it becomes like, for example, for example, I can have like a full-on conversation with a patient regarding their health, but I can't ask them so much about their day or what they did yesterday.
Or then when they start talking about their grandchildren, and it's like, all right, I have no idea what you're saying, but how is your abdomen? How is your gut doing? Okay. What has been the hardest thing in medical studies? Let's turn the focus more on the medical field. What would you consider that was the hardest thing for you during the 6 years that you had, and for you for the 5 years that you have been in?
I would start with, at the beginning, it was really hard to first, different country, you're alone here, and no family, and I didn't have I didn't know anyone before I came here, so no friends nearby, and that was the hardest part in the beginning, to adapt to a new city and adapt to a medical school, because medical school is let's face it, it's demanding. Nobody accepts it to be easy, and it's not easy here. You're required to be always studying and giving your best efforts. And with that together with the new city, new everything, was quite hard to adapt in the beginning. And afterwards, the most hard thing I would say is to keep the tempo, keep the motivation up, because you do one exam after other one, and it gets into this cycle, but you still have to keep your motivation up and somehow get up and do it all over again, all the exams and everything. Yeah, that's my...
For me, the most difficult part was the transition from high school, because I came here, I was freshly 18. I came from an American high school, which was relatively easy. I'd study the night before and get a full mark the next day on my exams. So the transition from that to curriculum where I have to study a little bit day by day by day, that was the most difficult part for me. And I think many people like you as well would struggle with the same thing. But once you pick up the habit of doing the chunk by chunk, it gets easier. It never gets easy, but it gets more manageable. It gets easier.
I think everyone learns it hard way here.
100%.
I think everyone went through this kind of from high school, the transition to this is something completely different, that nobody can prepare you for that. It's something that you should really listen when they say study bit every day, which I didn't. Nobody didn't.
Nobody does in the beginning.
So I think that's something which is good to mention, that you should take it seriously when they say it's serious.
And also finding your study style is very important, speaking on study, because not everybody studies the same way, and you need to find the way that works for you.
Exactly.
So you can listen to other people's experiences and try to emulate that, but you have to keep in mind what works for someone else doesn't necessarily work for you. You have to try and find out what works for you.
One last thing, failing. You have to get familiar with failing some attempts. I'm not saying complete failure, but failing some attempts, it's sometimes okay. You learn from what you did wrong, and you try to better everything in the second attempt, and
100%.
that's okay. Like first time I failed, I felt like I failed everything and it was over. But
Failed
then
in the life.
but then I realized it's not about that. And I remember Professor Catholic told me once that there are second and third attempts for a reason. Yeah, you're not supposed to pass everything in the first attempt, and that really did click with me.
Yeah.
At that point, some pressure went off of my shoulders, saying, okay, sometimes like it's okay to try again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that advice goes as well for everything in your life. You have to learn how to deal with rejection in everything,
Yeah.
whether in your professional career, your academic career, your personal life. You need to accept the losses, learn what you did wrong, and move on and become better, and not just get stuck with the loss and give up.
Let's talk about a little bit of extracurricular activities. Both of you have been in our Association for International Students. That's a great association. It's for us, just for us. It's made by students. And we cover everything from supporting our students. We have something called Pelican Buddy program, which is that you get a higher grade student to be like your mentor, kind of. How would you say, like, how did that help you? How did this like extracurricular activities help you kind of, or how did you manage to do it on top of your own studies?
I think in my experience, it was like in my freshers week, I thought like they were doing amazing job, like AIMS in general, like everyone was so helpful, trying to like tell us what helped them and trying to like guide us to the right things, that I was really inspired by them. Like I want to be part of this team at some point, and I became a member in my third year. Before that, I was just like group representative, which is also an important job, but being inside the organizational team like is amazing in a way. Like you can plan stuff for yourself and also the students in our own areas of interest. So we were planning, like last year, I was the VP of academic events, which we planned like suturing workshops, some things with our nursing department, like blood sampling, cannulization. Oops. And these kind of stuff. And students were super into it. We enjoyed it and we learned more. And it's very fun in a way that we can be in another community. It's okay. It's again medical students, but it's in a different place than a classroom. Like you get to like just sit and do either in academic events. It's a bit more like workshops, but in even social events and other stuff we plan, it's always like great to spend time and learn about other people.
I think having a student organization is very important. It's crucial for the faculty and the students alike. I was also the VP of academic events 2 years before her. It was a great experience. You get to do what the students actually want, or you try your best to do what the students actually want, to organize the events they want. It was difficult to manage studies and the administrative side of it, but you also get a lot of experience from it. You get a lot of contacts from it. It's great. But yeah, like she said, it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. Too bad I can't continue anymore after I graduated.
I think we would take you back if you want to.
I don't think it's allowed in the bylaws, but
you also both do research, right? Or you have been in part of research. How would you consider being a medical student and doing a research? Is it easy to get these research opportunities, or would you say that it's more off?
It really depends on you as a person. And this goes for everything in the faculty and in life. No one's going to hand you anything. You have to work for it. And also comes into play dealing with rejection. You're going to email 10 professors to ask them for research, and they're going to say no. And if you don't email the 11th, you might never get it. But the 11th might say yes. So you have to just knock on doors until someone opens. We were lucky enough to have a research with docent Zuzana, who had a small part in it. She was very helpful, just teaching us the ropes of it. Hopefully we'll have more opportunities either with her or other people in the faculty. But in general, many of the professors and doctors here are keen on helping students get into research. You just have to show the initiative.
Did you prepare somehow for it, or was it completely from no experience whatsoever from research before, or did you have some experience before?
I personally had some experience with it during my high school because it was like a requisite for us to graduate to do some kind of research. So I did have some background, but nothing much. So basically, I just really like after her lecture in immunology class, docent Zuzana, I just approached her because she was really like inspiring person. The way she taught and the way she was like holding herself basically really inspired me. And I was like, I would really want to work with you. And she was quite nice. I know like not all the professors all the time are available, which is very understandable. And like he mentioned, you have to just try a bit harder. I don't understand when people say, oh, I couldn't get it, like, I got rejected. Yeah, that's okay.
Nothing is gonna fall on your head. You're gonna have to,
You have to work
it's
for
not
it.
like in the Cinderella, you know, like that's not gonna happen.
We're no longer like children that has
Yeah.
to like receive everything. You have to kind of put a bit more effort sometimes, and that's okay.
I want to bring something at the end, something to make it a bit more relaxed. Would you say there was some subject that you really enjoyed? If you had to bring one subject that was like in your 6 years, in your 5 years, that was like extremely motivational, changed maybe your ideas of what you want to do after you graduate?
Do you mean the subject that was very well taught, or the subject was interesting personally
with
to me?
you.
I mean, that depends on what you're interested in. You know, whatever subject you're interested in, you're going to enjoy more or less, more likely than not, you're going to enjoy that subject being taught. But it also depends on the person who's teaching it. And we've had many great teachers in various different subjects. It's hard to pinpoint just one. But again, it depends on the teacher you have that day, because of course, not all the teachers teach the same way. And in some people, certain ways work better than others. For example, one example comes to mind is in pathophysiology. Professor Vizek has a very specific way of teaching. Everything is logical and back to back in a row, but you have to be paying attention from the beginning all the way to the end to understand it. And for me, that made so much sense. But other people in my class struggled to follow along. That's just because that's not the way they think.
Yeah.
So that teaching method doesn't work for them. There are other teaching methods that don't work for me and they feel it's great. So it really depends on each person to person.
For me, I was, from the beginning of my studies, I was really interested in pediatrics. And as everyone knows in our faculty, pediatrics is a big thing. Like we have the hospital and we have so many great doctors, researchers there. And for me, like we started in third year in pediatrics, but then continued in fourth year. And last year was really nice. Like we got to see a lot of patients with like rare diseases, and teachers were always really nice in a way that we would go and examine the patients. We would try to like discover what they have, and afterwards we would discuss with the doctors, which was really like inspiring and made me feel like we were actually doctors. Like it was like a little simulation, and it was quite nice. Like pediatrics was really well taught. And just one note, what really inspired me also is, other than subjects, was my internship in Motol. So I did an internship for 2 weeks in this summer, and in the pulmonology department with Dr. Andrea, and which was like also again with this teacher and your relationship with the teaching methods. It was like it was amazing. Like the way they were. She expected me to know stuff, but at the same time, she was like always willing to teach whenever I don't know. And she was always encouraging me to talk to the patients. Sometimes we get shy a bit with Czech, again, the language. And sometimes you always think you understand it wrong, but you just have to go there and be a bit brave, do some mistakes, like make some mistakes, it's okay. And sometimes they don't understand you, sometimes you don't understand them, ask again. Sometimes a bit annoying, but it's okay. So that was also like something...
A bit unrelated, but you mentioned rare diseases and pediatrics, and just sprung to mind. During the pediatrics course in my 6th year, we had a patient with Schimke syndrome. It's like 1 in 3 million, super rare. And recently in the UK, like a couple of weeks ago, there was a patient with Schimke syndrome who underwent a kidney transplant and did not need to take any immunosuppressives after it, because basically the patient also had a bone marrow transplant from the same donor, and they somehow primed it in a way that the body accepts the donor kidney and does not reject it, which is very cool because immunosuppression and transplant is a huge thing. I just thought it's interesting.
It is very interesting.
To bring it up.
Yeah, okay. So also we have this internship opportunities here. So that's also something that we should point out. Primarily, like you have the right to go wherever you want in the summer. We have these internship obligations. You can do it in your home city or you can do it here. So that's also something that I think for upcoming students is very important to know that you can also finish it here.
I think it's very possible to get an internship in Motol. You can do it either emailing like the head of the department, but even if you have like a personal relationship with the doctor in a what I mean is like a connection from like you liked her lecture or like something you talked to them at the end of the lecture and you would really want to have like some experience in their department and you email them personally. They're usually very nice and they will try to make time for you. That was my experience with pulmonology.
I had majority of my internships here because I can't really go back to Syria and do them, and doing them in Dubai is insanely expensive. Like they charge you for these internships absurd amounts. So that's not really an option either. I had to do the majority over here and I enjoyed all of them. Surgery ones, they let you assist. You have guided responsibilities and it's a great learning experience.
Again, a bit personal effort can take you a long way.
100%. Okay, last question to the end. What would you take home kind of like the best experience, or what would you say like you already finished? So would you rate it as a good experience coming here for the 6 years, and for you more like how did you like the 5 years so far, or like try to understand what I'm trying to like elaborate with
I understand. I would say those 6 years I spent here were the best and the worst 6 years of my life. It was filled with ups and downs. It was filled with hardships. It was filled with failure and achievements. It was filled with highs and lows. I feel it's a big part of me personally. It's a big part of my personality. It helped shape me as an adult, coming here at 18 years old and graduating at 24, 25. It's a big part of my life. Was it difficult? Yes, but it was going to be difficult anywhere. It's not exceptionally difficult. It's as difficult as it should be. And it shouldn't be easy. In the first few years, you learn how to learn. And then you use what you learned to add knowledge to you.
For me, I think we didn't mention this before. So I learned here that friends can be family because we're here alone and we don't have like most of us don't have our parents here. So you learn to like give your trust and your best, your worst fears and everything. Like you share everything with your friends. That's what I mean. Like they become your family. And what I will take home, like after I graduate, or even after all my years when I finished it, I literally started missing Prague, because Prague started feeling like home, not just because of the university, but because of the connections we made here. Like medicine is hard, but if you put in the effort, you are motivated, you're gonna get through it. There's ups and downs everywhere. And it's a demanding faculty where like we have to pass every test with 70%, sometimes more, which doesn't make it easy, but it's doable. And if you're motivated, you're gonna get through it. So you have to enjoy it in a way that you're gonna suffer, but it's gonna be okay.
All right.
It builds character.
Yes. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Good luck for you in the future, and good luck for your 5th year.
Thank you.